we're talking about today is Pre-Algebra, Unit 3, Lesson 3, solving two-step equations. The homework that goes with this is page 5 in the packet. All right, pause your video and do these problems. All right, multiplying decimals. 2 times 3 is 6, and we've got 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3 decimal places. Adding fractions, you need to find the common denominator. Common denominator here is going to be 20. I need to multiply 1/4 by 5, so 5/20ths. And I need to multiply this by 4, so 8/20ths. When I add, I get 13/20ths. Multiplying. Do reducing first. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 5 goes into 10 twice. 5 goes into 15 3 times. And then I multiply straight across. 2 9s. Dividing. You change to multiply by the reciprocal. So 5 7s times, flip this, 3 7s. Keep, switch, flip. And then you multiply straight across. 15 over 49. Okay, do these 4 problems as a warm-up. Pause your video. All right, solving one-step equations. Draw your line down the middle. Look at what side the variable's on, and we do the opposite of whatever's with the variable. So this is the side with the variable. The opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3. So I subtract 3 from both sides. 3 minus 3 is 0. So I'm left with x on this side equals negative 10 minus 3 is negative 13. Draw your line down the middle here. Variable on the right side. What's happening with the variable? We're subtracting 4. What's the opposite of subtracting 4? Add 4 to both sides. So 6 plus 4 is 10 equals x. Because negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Number 3. Draw your line down the middle. Variables on the left side. What is happening with the variable? We are multiplying by negative 2. So what's the opposite of multiplying by negative 2? We divide both sides by negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. So I'm left with 1x, which is just x. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 is positive 5. Draw your line down the middle. Variables on the right. What's happening with the variable? This is x divided by negative 3. What's the opposite of dividing by negative 3? We're going to multiply both sides by negative 3. Make sure you don't multiply up in the numerator because it's negative 3 over 1. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18 equals, on this side, I'll have negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1. So I'm left with x. That's a nice warm-up and a reminder of solving one-step equation. All right. We are now in your note packet, and you should be on page 5. We're going to do these 4 problems. Again, pause your video and do these. All right, draw your line down the middle. This one, I'm going to divide both sides by 4, so I get x is 2. This one, draw your line down the middle. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. This will be 0, so I'm left with x equals 3. This one, you should have added 7 to both sides, and you get x is 17. This one, what's the opposite of dividing by 2? You multiply by 2, and you get x is 30. Remember, you always do the opposite of what is with the variable. Now, today, I do not like this, because this only works for your classic two-step equation. I think it is not a good practice to memorize these rules, so ignore this. This is what I'm going to tell you, and this will work with every single problem in the world. You are going to solve an equation. Your goal is to get the variable alone. So you always draw your line down the middle. That equals splits it into the left side and the right side. And remember, we can do anything we want to both sides as long as we do it to both. Now, you look on the side with the variable and you say to yourself, self, which number is farthest from the variable but is on this side? Well, that would be this plus 7. So that is the one we need to get rid of first. How do you undo plus 7? Well, you do the opposite. Minus 7 to both sides. Positive 7 minus 7 is 0. So on this left side, I am left with 4g equals, and notice I keep my equals right on that line. 23 minus 7 is 16. Now look, I'm in a one-step equation. This is 4 times g. What's the opposite of multiplying by 4? I divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so I'm left with 1g, which is just g, equals 4. That's what I call your classic two-step equation. All right, again, draw your line down the middle. Variables on the left. Which number is farthest from the variable? This minus 10. So, how do we get rid of minus 10? The opposite of subtracting 10 is adding 10. So I will have negative 10 plus 10 is 0. I'm left on the left with 3b equals 35 plus 10 is 45. To finish solving this is multiplying by 3. What's the opposite of multiplying by 3? I divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm left with b equals 15. I'm not going to do this. All right, solve this one. Let's draw your line down the middle. We look on the left side because that's where the variable is. Which number is farthest from the variable? It's this plus 17. So that's the one that I want to transform to the other side first. Subtract 17 from both sides. 17 minus 17 is 0. So on this side, I'm left with b over 2 equals 13. This is b divided by 2. What's the opposite of dividing by 2? Multiplying by 2. Notice I'm showing that up in the numerator because it's 2 over 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I'm left with b equals 26. All right.